Today we're talking about 9.8 simple interest. When you're talking about money and interest, is there anyone who thinks they might know when you might have interest? What do you think? Okay, that's true. When you're buying something really big, you might have interest. Very good. All right, who do we borrow money from?
The bank.
The bank. Well, your parents, yes. But how many of you know if your parents own your house? They've bought and purchased your house. How many of you would say you rent a house? Okay, so when you buy a house, typically it's going to cost you over $100,000. Do you think most of the time your parents have that kind of money in their pockets?
No.
No, probably not. So they have to go and borrow it from the bank. Now, the bank doesn't just say, here you go, have some money. They say, we will charge you what? Interest, okay? Monthly interest, sometimes an annual interest. They can charge you interest though, okay? So that's the amount of money. They'll say, sure, you can borrow it from us, but you have to pay us money back, okay? How many of you have a bank account? Have you ever heard that you can earn interest? When you put your money into the bank, they are borrowing your money. So a lot of times when they're borrowing it, they're going to say, I'll pay you a certain percentage for allowing us to use your interest, okay? So there's some terms that I want you to know about today. The first word we see here is the principal. That's the amount of money that you deposit or you put into the bank, or the amount of money that you're borrowing from the bank, okay? So the principal is always going to be an amount of money. Now the interest, it's also going to be money, but it's the amount of money that you make, okay? So if you put your money in the bank, they'll pay you interest. That is the amount of money you're making. Or if you're borrowing money from the bank, that's the amount of money that you're going to have to pay back to them. The rate, what word comes after the word rate? What is it? Percentage. Every time you see a percentage, 4%, 10%, 25%, that's your rate, okay? What do we have to do to that percentage? Change it to a decimal, okay? And then the time will always come in what? Years. So let's imagine that it tells us it's 6 months. Is that years? No. So we would have to put it as a fraction. 6 months over how many months are in a year? 12. That reduced would be what? 1/2. So basically that would mean 6 months is the same thing as half of a year, okay? Let's imagine that something was 10 months. That's the same thing as 10 over 12 months. Reduced, what would that be? 5/6. So that would be 5/6 of a year. So just make sure always that your time comes back in years. Then the final thing that I want you to learn about today is this formula. Interest is the principal times the rate times the time. And there is a way that you can shorten that. I equals PRT. Okay, so that's a formula you're going to want to memorize. Okay, so here's an example of the kind of problem you might see. There is a $500 deposit. Remember, a deposit, when you put money in, that's called your principal. They earn 6%. What is that 6%? That's going to be your rate. They earn 6% simple annual interest for 4 years. That 4 years is going to be your time. So what is the formula that we've talked about? I equals PRT. Okay, let's write that formula down. Now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of give a sample of what you might do for a kind of problem. And we're going to start plugging things in, okay? Do we know? We don't know what our simple interest is yet. So we're just going to put I equals. Do we know what the P is? What is it? $500, so we're going to go ahead and put equals $500 times, what's my rate? 6%, so we got to change that to a decimal, which would be 0.06. And then what's my time? 4 years, so then we'll multiply it times 4. Go ahead and put this in your calculator to see what your interest would be. Now remember, interest will always come out as a kind of money, because when you have to pay something, you're paying it with money. What's the answer?
$120.
$120 is correct. Okay, so the main thing is memorize your formula, I equals PRT, and then just be able to figure out which things it is that the problem tells us that we know, whether it's the principal, rate, time, or the interest, okay? So we're going to go ahead and do a couple of sample problems. For an account that earns simple annual interest, find the interest, that's the first thing we're looking for, and the balance of the account. So let's just start with our formula. What is the formula, guys? I equals PRT. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and just fill this out. Find your I, your P, your R, and your T. First up, do I know what my interest is? No, look what it's asking me. Find the interest. So I don't know what it is yet. I'm just going to put a question mark. JD, do I know what my principal is?
Yes.
What is it?
$500.
$500. Okay, remember the principal is the amount of money that you deposit or you borrow. Katie, do I know what my rate is?
Yes, ma'am.
What is it?
It is 0.03.
Always give me the rate as a percentage first.
3%.
3%. Okay, so we're going to go and write that's 3%. Time. Emma, do I know how long we had it for?
Yes.
1 year. Okay, because that came in years, I don't need to change it to any kind of a fraction. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go ahead and let's just plug it in. I don't know my I, but I do know my principal is 500. My rate, I got to change to a decimal. So Katie, what was it that you were saying it would? 0.03. And then times 1. Okay, is there anything that I can do on the left side right now? No, there's no work that I can do over there. Okay, so I'm just going to bring down my I. Is there any work that I can do on this side?
Yes.
Yes, put it into your calculator and multiply those together. When you do that, guys, what is the interest? $15. Okay, am I finished?
Yes.
No. Go back to what it asks you at the top. Find the interest and the balance. Okay, so here's what it's saying. I went to the bank, I put in $500. I gained interest. That means the bank says, I'm going to pay you because you let us hold on to your money for a whole year. How much money did the bank pay us? $15. So if I put in 500 and now they gave me 15, what's my new balance?
515.
515. How'd you figure that out?
Because you add 15 plus 500.
All you do is you just add your balance and then you add how much your interest was. Okay, so for this kind of a problem and for the first few problems that you have on your homework tonight, you're going to find the interest and the balance. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Carlos, I put in the bank $450 and I'm going to be earning 4% for 6 months. What is my formula I need to start with? I equals PRT. All right, remember the interest that you get is always going to be a dollar amount, okay? Michael. Do I know my interest?
No.
Nope, it's still an unknown, okay? My goal today is to find out what the interest is. Gabby, do I know my principal? Yes, how much? Good job. I put $450 into the bank. Isabel, what's my rate?
4%.
4%, because your rate will always be a percentage. And Carlos, how long did I put it in for?
6 months.
6 months, okay? Now, is that in years?
Half a year.
No, it's not in years. So we know 6 months over how many months are in a whole year? 12. And that simplified is? Okay, this is a half of a year. All right, so remember, you always have to put your time into years. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start with our formula once again. I equals PRT. Do I know my I?
No.
Not yet. Do I know my P?
Yes.
What is it?
$450.
$450. Alex, do I know my rate? Look right here. That's why we just put all this stuff right there. 4%. What do you have to change that rate to? Guys, what do we have to change the rate to? A decimal. So what is it going to be? 0.04. And then what do I multiply by the time? A half of a year. Okay, so once again, there is no work I can do on the left side, so I'm just bringing down the I, and then I want you guys to multiply that out and find the balance for me. All right, for those of you who worked that out, what's the interest?
It's $9.
$9. Now, let's talk about the balance. How much did I have originally?
$450.
$450 plus the interest would be what?
$459.
All right, so after 6 months, now this person has $459 in the bank. Okay, go and have a seat. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. It does tell us our interest, our principal, and our time, but now we are going to be trying to find the rate, okay? So let's start off with what our formula is. What is it, guys? Okay, everyone together? I equals PRT. Do I know what my interest is?
Yes.
What is it?
$468.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do right now. Instead of putting an I, I'm going to go ahead and plug it in and put $468. Equals, okay, you always want to just bring that equal sign straight down so that it looks nice and neat. Do I know my principal?
Yes.
What is it?
$6,240.
$6,240. Do I know my rate?
No.
No, that's the unknown. So let's just go ahead and keep it as an R so that I know my rate is going to have to be a percentage. Do I know my time?
Yes.
Yes, what is it?
9 months.
Okay, it's 9 months. Do I want it in months?
No.
No. So how do I figure out what 9 months would be as far as a year? Okay, so we know that this right here would be 9 over 12, and then you have to reduce it, which would be
3/4.
3/4. Okay, so then you're also going to be multiplying 3/4. Because if you remember, whenever you have all these letters right next to each other, it means you're multiplying them. Okay, so let's just talk about this. Is there any work that I can do on the left side of my equal sign right now?
No.
No. So all I want to do, drop down your equal sign to keep it nice and neat. $468. Okay, is there any work I can do on that side?
Yes.
What can I do?
Multiply 6,240 times 3/4.
All right, so we're going to multiply these two things right here together. When you do that, what do you get?
4,680.
4,680. Is there anything else I need to bring down? The R, okay? You can't just leave that there. You've got to bring it down and multiply times the R. This is just like any normal problem. My whole goal is to get the what by itself? The variable, okay? How do I get rid of 4,680? You divide by it because it is being multiplied on that side. So what I do to one side, you got to be fair and do it to the other side. Okay, so this side right here cancels out, and on that I'm left just with the R. And what is $468 divided by 4,680? 0.1. Okay, now the R stands for rate, and the rate has to come out as a what? As a percent. How do I turn that into a percent?
Move the decimal over to the right.
Move it 2 times. So guys, what is my rate?
10%.
10% is the rate. Okay, does that make sense? It's done the same way as problems number 1 and 2. The difference is I was just looking for a different variable instead of just for the interest. Any questions? All right, for this problem it says that you put $750 into a certificate of deposit. Okay, so you're depositing, that means you're putting it into the bank. Your simple annual interest rate is 4%. So the bank is saying, hey, each time that you have it in here, we're going to give you 4% back over the year, all right? You receive a check for the interest at the end of each year. How long will it take you to earn $150 in interest? So maybe you're thinking, I want to raise up to $150 for something special I want to buy. So we're just trying to figure out how long it's going to take you for your money to sit in the bank in order to be able to get $150 back from interest. So let's start with a formula every time. Tell me what the formula is.
I equals PRT.
I equals PRT. So going on to the first one, let's just figure this out. I, P, R, and T. Do I know what the interest is going to be? Yes, how much? $150. I want to earn $150. I want my interest to be $150. What is the principal? $750. That's the amount of money that I put into the bank, okay? That's the money that the bank is borrowing from me. Rate. Do I know what my rate is?
4%.
4%. Do I know the time? No. If I look back at my question, it says, how long will it take? That means I'm not really sure. I'm trying to figure out the time, okay? So now all we're going to do is we start with that formula, and we're going to plug in what we know. Do I know my interest? What is it? $150. What's my principal? $750. Do I know my rate? 0.04. Okay, remember it's not 0.4 because that would be 40%. Do I know my time?
No.
Not yet. So I'm just going to put a T. If I stick the T there, it helps me remember I'm looking for time. Okay? Bring down your equal sign. Is there anything I can do on the left side? No. So just drop down the $150. Is there anything I can do on the right side?
Yes.
Yes. We're going to go ahead and multiply those two together. When you multiply $750 times 0.04, what do you get?
30.
30. And you still have to multiply that by
150.
No. 30.
what's still over here on the right-hand side that I haven't done anything? T. So bring that T down, okay? Your whole goal is to get what?
The T by itself.
The variable by itself. So how do I get rid of that multiply by 30?
30.
Divide both sides by 30. This will cancel out. What is your time? 5 years. Thank you for telling me years. Then here's what I do every single time. I will always go back through and read that final question just to make sure I've answered what it asked. How long will it take to earn $150 in interest? 5 years is correct. Okay? Excellent job. If you deposit $1,500 into an account that earns 4% annual interest, what will the account's balance be after 9 months? Always, we're going to start off with our formula, I equals PRT. Do I know the interest? No. I am trying to figure out what the interest is. Do I know the principal?
Yes.
How much?
$1,500.
$1,500 is correct. Asia, do I know my rate? What is it? 4%. Alex, do I know the time? Incorrect. Carlos, do I know the time?
Yes.
What is it?
9 months.
9 months.
And you simplify it into the four.
Okay, I want it to be a year, so I know that's 9 months over 12 months. And as he said, you simplify it, that's 3/4 of a year. Okay, so now we're going to do some plug-in. I equals PRT. I know the interest is unknown, but my principal is $1,500. Times the rate, what do I put? 0.04. And my time? 3/4 of a year. Okay, go ahead and put this in your calculator to find what the interest should be. All right, guys, what's my interest? Okay, thank you for saying dollars. Now, I'm going to go back through to my final question and just see. This is what it says. What will the account's balance be after 9 months? Is $45 the correct answer? No, that would be a very sad balance, okay? What you have to do is you have to take your principal and add your interest. So what would the balance be? $1,545. Okay, so always just make sure you're going back through to see what it is that it's asking. Go ahead and write down this for tonight's homework.